and welcome to Do the Right Thing, your weekly writing prompt podcast. I'm Alexandra.
And I'm Jarvis.
Jarvis and I were aspiring writers with the same problem that many others have. We never actually took the time to sit down and write.
So to help us get in the writing spirit, we are issuing a challenge. Each week you sit down for 30 minutes and write a complete short story using 3 or 4 randomly generated words.
Then we come on the podcast, we read one of your stories, and we talk about the rest. We're simply here to help you do the right thing.
A Doof Media production.
How is you? I'm back in Texas. Did you know that? I'm back in Texas. Back in the land of 100-degree weather all the time, 24/7. And I love that for us.
And that's great because you came during one of the hottest weeks so far. But yeah,
nice late August.
Yeah, late August, right before fall. But yeah, I've been pretty good. I just started back up with my final year of college, hopefully, fingers crossed. And it's proving to be very, very busy. I am taking 5 classes. 3 of them are online, and they're all like 4,000 level English classes. So that's great.
I would not have done that myself.
Yeah,
I will be full on about it. I could not do that.
I sort of like made a decision where it's like, okay, cool. Do I want a budding social life, but not take all of the classes that I want to, or be able to graduate on time, or do I want to hurt myself mentally, physically, and emotionally, and grin and bear it for these next 6 months? And I chose the latter because that option costs less money. So here I am, very stressed, but hey, it's fine. It's only like the second week, so it really hasn't hit the fan yet.
Well, to be fair, if you're gonna sacrifice your social life, this is kind of the year to do it, right? There's not much to sacrifice.
Because I mean, really, like as soon like post college is when I'll probably have the most social life, or maybe not at all. I don't really know. But yeah, I mean, either way, it's the second week. It really isn't that bad. I even still have time to read other things that I've been wanting to read, so that's pretty good. And
you're in some cool classes, right? You're in Afrofuturism.
Yeah, I'm in Afrofuturism, a class that I didn't know I needed until now. It's really awesome. And
it's one of the only classes where you have to watch Black Panther for
yes,
it's part of the curriculum. So.
Which I love it because there are like Black Panther is a perfect representation of popular Afrofuturism, but I do like how we are focusing on other aspects, including African futurism, which is the same but slightly different. But yeah, there's that class, but I still have to take my American Lit class. It's just so boring.
Save the best for last.
Save the best for last. But yeah, overall, I am doing Peachy King with whipped cream and roses on top.
Why did you take American Lit rather than World Lit? I'm pretty sure you can choose. Like, I think aren't the options World Lit, American Lit, and Brit Lit?
Yeah. But
for those who don't know, Lit is short for literature.
I hope y'all know that. But yeah, I mean, I could have, but I took the first American Lit class. And yeah, granted, I could have switched it up for my second one. I just need 2 different credits. But I just decided to finish it, because like, why not? And in the first semester, some of them were at least vaguely interesting. There was this one story, I forgot, it was a book, it was like My Antonia. Have you heard of it?
Nope.
It's okay, it's just like a Western slice of life, where pretty much that's it. That's all of it. But it's fun, to see, I guess, a section of lit that I rarely heard about, but also has its own stories, and just to understand what people during those times valued and liked. So it's interesting. I'm not going to enjoy the class per se, but it is enough to get the credit for.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. Well, you're missing out. My first, basically one of my first classes, my first semester was World Lit, and the theme was death, right? And the supernatural. Yeah. It was great. Well, my favorite thing from that, I still have the book. Probably one of my coolest books on my shelf. It's a little tiny poetry book, little black book with gold lettering. It's poems, dead and undead, and that is just the coolest thing to have on your shelf. I hate all the poetry inside of it, though. Yeah. I hate all the text. It's cool. Not fun.
It sounds like it should be like a spell book of some sort.
Exactly, and it does look like one. It's my little black spell book. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you should just rip out all of those shitty poems and just put
in my own.
Yes, your own like witchy spell poems. Yeah,
spell poems or spoems as I call them.
Spellums.
Spems. Anyway, we do a podcast here about words. Shall we announce what words they are?
Yeah, that would be actually a really great and kosher thing to do.
I think that's exactly the word you were looking for.
Mm-hmm. So the words for this week, and granted, this is the last week of nonfiction, so going into next week, we will have a whole brand new topic for y'all to write about. But the words for this week were diamond, elbow, brain, and angle. That's brain and not Brian, and angle, not angel.
Thank you for clarifying. Let's get into our story for this week. Who are we reading?
Yes, so the story for this week we will be reading is by JarBJas with Summer, a couple of decades ago. Nice.
I like that. Mm-hmm. So this is a nonfiction piece of reflection on JarBJas' past, and let's get into it. Have you ever been to a Punjabi party? It sure is an experience. The music is loud, the dance floor is heaving, drink flows, and food is plentiful. It's an exercise in excess. And it was something I experienced at least once a month growing up. Our family had become experts, of a sort, in throwing these parties. Where to source the drinks, the food, the catering, and the music. My dad and his cousins all had enough contacts that we could help people out with any party requirements. I can still hear conversations had over the phone. Oh, the family is a bit old-fashioned? They would like more old-school Hindi songs? We've got a guy who incorporates that into his setup. His wife even sings. They'll give us a good price. Don't worry, I know them. You need good veggie food? No problem. There are these great Sikh caterers. They have these lentil-filled samosas. It's great. Trust me. Ah, Lil Rita's old enough to drink now? How time flies. She likes her wine? Red? Well, Rajesh likes his wine too. We could justify another few cases of wine then, right? And so on. Although, when it came to alcohol, they didn't need much justifying. Any angle they could use to end up with excess alcohol was a bonus, more for the hosts at the after party. I would get told, whiskey doesn't go out of date. Any leftovers will find a home one way or another. It was about this point where my 10-year-old brain should have put the dots together, that our family had an unhealthy relationship with alcohol and excess. It was after one of these parties, in a rented-out school gym, of all places. When the DJ had played the last song, and then the real last song, some classic about never forgetting your friends. When visitors had trickled away to their cars, designated drivers helping tired children and tipsy adults into cars, when all that was left was to clear the messy tables and pack vans to head home. Tables littered with half-drunk bottles of rum, whiskey, and cola. It was the children's job, as irresponsible and sober ones, to sort this out. Decant liquor into as few bottles as possible. I remember asking my uncle how to do this without spilling. Why don't you use your head? I thought you were smart. We could use a funnel? No, he scoffed. Here. And he brought the 2 bottles together and poured them carefully. I think a funnel would have been better, but I knew the consequences of talking back to drunken men. So, it fell to the kids to manage this. Well, kids and the adults who hadn't quite found their groove in the adult circle and felt more comfortable as an older kid over a young adult. Loading vans, sealing boxes, and occasionally sneaking a pack of crisps or nuts, all while the adults put on the facade of helping, sneaking more drinks and merriment. It might feel strange to look back fondly on those years, but I do. I enjoyed the weird, absolutely not safe journeys when we would be stuffed in the back of a van to hold bottles steady around corners. I liked the clandestine missing of orange juice and cola, the enjoyment being the thrill of doing something forbidden. Sneaking the last packet of cheese and onion crisps from some drunk granddad and then giving it up to the cousin who never got their favorite flavor all night. Or elbowing past drunken, smoky men at the bar on a sticky summer afternoon just to ask a bemused bartender for a few glasses of ice. I look back fondly because it was limited in the end. When we grew up, we stopped being those kids and we fell in line with the adults. Some of us didn't drink as much, and some did. Some engaged in debates, shouted over the music, of course, between glasses of booze, and some took to the dance floor. Now, after the past year of COVID and social distancing, I wonder if this key part of my childhood, my culture, will ever return. Will any of the new generation of kids experience hot summer days running around a car park and cheering in joy when an entrepreneurial ice cream van parks up? Will they get that surge of joy that comes from requesting a song only for the DJ to play it and get all the kids on the dance floor? I feel like a large part of our culture has withered thanks to 2020 and beyond, and I wonder how we go about fixing that. I have no answers so far, since the pandemic is still happening.
All right. I really enjoy this story. It has a really great sense of presence within this actual party setting, but at the same time, it's giving us so many details about everything else happening behind the scenes, and even this this main perspective person speculating on how their family might have a unhealthy relationship with alcohol, and just how the dynamic of these parties are, while also sort of looking back on their younger years at this party with a bit of maybe rose tinted glasses, how they missed that, which I really love that feeling and how it was portrayed within this story. So really great job.
Yeah, obviously the focus of the story is sort of a nostalgic flashback, right? Mm-hmm. Going back to those feelings and revisiting them. And I think that's really cool. I think that's really exercised well here. And I think JarBJas probably explores this as they go, with the very beginning sort of having that opening, talking about these things at parties, and then going into a little bit more about the alcohol, which kind of became a focus in this piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And even though this is a very nostalgic story, I enjoy how there's also a bit of hindsight there, how it's not all great and perfect, and how they can really muse on certain things that probably weren't too good. I especially like the interaction between this person and the old drunk man, and just like how of course they probably had a better way of doing it, but it's not good to argue with a drunk man, and how he just ended up pouring both of the bottles into the main bottle, probably making like a huge mess. I think that was a really nice moment, and the story is really filled with really good moments like that. And I think the ending ends in a very, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, it is very sad that these events have come to a halt because of COVID-19, and it sucks. And I do like how it's so open-ended, how it does leave on this really darker tone, how the pandemic is still happening. We have the Delta strain out here, So I don't know. I think that not only does it portray this nostalgic feeling and give us these really good moments, but it also is willing to sort of have a unceremonious ending, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think it's more of a exploration rather than like a specific like hard hitting short story or anything. I think that's totally okay. That is as valid a use of doing the right thing as any, and I think it's really good to look at the past like this. And also, I know this is like I have a journal and stuff sometimes, right? Yeah. I sometimes go in there and I write about how I'm feeling or memories and stuff in the past. But there's something like sometimes I'm writing these things and I feel a little bit self-conscious, even though no one's going to read it because it's not for that. But I feel self-conscious because I feel like I shouldn't take the kind of writing that is more dramatic, like a narrative, right? There's sort of a presumption or pretentiousness that comes with writing a story, right? Especially in a context where it doesn't seem like it should be a story. Like if you're writing a post on Reddit, not in this context, obviously, but like if you were commenting to a post that says, how do you feel about your childhood, right? You're not going to take this sort of writing of prose, right? Of the nostalgia and pacing things out. But this is actually a much better way to convey those feelings, right? That exploration going through and back and taking moments to talk about how we feel and setting up these scenes that we don't really have when we talk more normally, when we are in settings that aren't built for the pretension of writing a story, right? And so I think it's really useful to use times like this as an opportunity for that sort of exploration, for to sort of wax poetic a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, that's another thing. It's very rare that I feel comfortable just doing some poetry in real life, right? But the thing is, poetry is actually a really good way of conveying things. That's why it exists, is convey emotions that are hard to convey with just normal language.
Exactly.
But like if you're I have had the urge before, like during a breakup, to say some poetic poetry, stuff. Yeah. But that's like during the conversation of the breakup, right? Of like talking about how I feel. Well, because how do I convey how I feel? Like using normal language takes forever, whereas I could have just said like a single or two poetic sentences and conveyed it. But because of how pretentious it would have been to do that in a serious conversation, right? It would have been a terrible idea. Yeah. So,
I mean, that's why you use a metaphor. Metaphor is more palatable.
Well, yeah, a metaphor. The thing is, if a metaphor gets too purpley, right, then it also has a feeling of pretension, right?
True.
So, anyway. So yeah, that's the so I'm in full support of writing more meandering wonderings like this.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, I love it. I love being able to sit in a person's head and sort of follow their own train of thought, And this story was very similar to that. I mean, we do go from scene to scene, and there is a solid through line of what it's about and the why. But I mean, as you said, at the same time, it's just exploring these moments. It's exploring that that feeling with this almost like bittersweet tone, to where these moments were great, even though this and this, but you can tell that there's the sense of wanting to be in the back of that van, the sense of wanting to be at the kids' table, and I really get that, and I relate to this greatly. I mean, I know I can't count on two hands how many times I've been at a family reunion, and have felt a lot of these things, just being very awkward when it comes to trying to talk to the adults, or them not being able to take you seriously, or you being the only sober one at the entire place. So yeah, overall, I just really dug this story, and it really hits close to home while still having its own really strong identity, which I really like. So great job.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's the main focus of the story. I think the way that it goes into those particular scenes, I think is used to good effect. And then we can back away after the sense of the scene is built up and such. So I think that's well done.
Definitely. Well, all right. Thank you so much to JarBJas for allowing us to read your story. But I think it's high time to move on into the rest of our listeners' submitted stories. So, the stories that were submitted this week are by Fine by me, JarBJas, and Excalibur. So this week is going to be a bit short, but still sweet and great.
So who's first?
Yep. So the first story up is by Fine by me, with an untitled story.
That's right. So this is also another kind of wondering, kind of almost addressing us directly right at the beginning.
Yeah.
But going through and sort of reflecting on all the times It's Fine by me almost died growing up as a kid, all the ridiculous things that these young kids and teenagers would do, including sending someone on a tire swing to go super fast over a lake and the kid breaking both of his arms. Falling off a cliff one week, or was it the next day that they almost fell off the same cliff again on a different bike?
Yeah.
The first bike having fallen off the cliff.
And then also
already.
their buddy taking a bunch of drugs and almost drowning in cat shit.
Yeah, it's really gross. So thank you for sharing that. But yeah, it's a good exploration of all those horrible moments. Something I think is interesting is that it's almost, at some points, it almost feels like it shifts address, because at the beginning it's almost like us or just a community in general, right? But I think at some point it starts talking about we, and I think that can be the we in the story, but I almost feel like there's a sense that's Fine by me maybe at this point is sort of addressing other peers and stuff at that point, maybe someone in particular, maybe not. That's just a feeling I got at some point. Yeah, here it is. Sorry. Down here, what the fuck was wrong with us? Oh, holy shit. Remember that time your kid brother had some sort of fucking meltdown and threatened both of us with a chef's knife? So your kid brother, that's clearly, it's not
someone
one of us.
Else, yeah.
So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, that's definitely something that I haven't really seen too much of, deliberately shifting those perspectives mid story. And I think in other places that could come off as what's the word, as a train wreck, right? But
okay, that's not exactly how I would phrase that, but sure.
Yeah, but within this story, I think it works really well because it is primed with oh, do you remember this? Do you remember that? So as we keep reading, we do get a sense that this might be addressed to someone else, but then as soon as that hits, we're like, okay, definitely this is to someone else. But overall, I mean, I just really love how this story is just really sitting within these moments, even though they are being listed out. And I do relate to those sort of small town antics, getting into trouble, doing things that you're not supposed to. Literally just breaking laws. And, you know, I heavily relate to that, you know, especially like me growing up in Pflugerville. Me and my friends did some of the same. Not to this extent, though. I don't think I've ever almost died. But still, I enjoy how much joy is really coming from this story as this character recounts these moments, and even when it does take a more serious turn towards the end, it still sort of keeps a jovial tone, like we're just like a couple of friends talking about our like heyday over a glass of beer, you know. Yeah.
I think it's a little bit more aggressive than jovial, but that's just how I would characterize it. But
it's a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a good story.
What'd you say?
Like aggressive, basically.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, no. Overall, really great story, and I just really love that you brought this to us. So thank you very much to Signed by Me.
And next is,
and our last story for this week is by Excalibur with another fantastically made poem about tap water.
Because last week we kind of went on a whole tangent about tap water and stuff, and so they actually went out and did the tap water poem. So appreciate that. And so so this is sort of a beautiful rendition. You know, I'll just read it out real quick.
Sure,
it's just like 8 lines. The font's flower, sweet and fair, flows through a thorough filter. Drips and bright diamond drops fall to a basin, rot brain free, where lime lines antique lead, providing insufficient plum protection. Carbon cleans after elder elbows.
Okay.
So basically, I get this. I get the feeling of sort of a beautiful rendition of a sink. That's the font with the font's flower, with those drips going down into that basin, where the pipes are lead, but they're lined with lime, so it's okay. I thought it was an interesting way to portray that.
Yeah, I mean, very much so. I love it how, you know, you're taking this sort of hyper poetic take on getting a glass of tap water, and I just really love it. I love how you know, the lead, it can both mean the lead pipes or the lead that's obviously in all of our water. And I love the thorough filter. There are just some like really great lines within this. And I mean, maybe it's just me and my own reading, but as I was reading this and, you know, thinking of tap water, I was thinking, oh, this tap water is going to be unsatisfying. You know, it's going to leave something to be desired because of the way that this poem is written, and a lot of the verbiage, you know, like rot brain, insufficient, thorough filter, feels like, you know, this isn't going to be the best glass of water ever. You know,
sure. Yeah, that's a lot to pull from this, and I thought definitely it was good practice to get that poetic sort of sense going.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you very much to Excalibur. Well, all right, I think it's high time to say thank you to everyone who did submit us a story. So, thank you very much to Signed by Me.
Thank you, JarBJas.
And thank you to Excalibur one more time. And we would also like to say thank you to everyone who did leave comments. Leaving comments not only under your own story, but under someone else's story can not only put all of your own thoughts on your piece out there for everyone to see, but you are providing someone else with feedback that can only make them a better writer. So, thank you very much to JarBJas, Blari345, and Signed by Me. Thank you so much for leaving comments.
Yeah, y'all did a really good job. It was nice to see like 2 or 3 comments under every story, so that was cool.
Exactly. If you want to be like all of these wonderful writers and submit your story to Do the Right Thing, you can do that by going to Reddit at /r/Do the Right Thing. All you have to do is sit down for 30 minutes and write a complete short story using 3 or 4 randomly generated words.
Yep. And there's always so much going on at Doof Media. Sorry, I skipped ahead, didn't I? Whoops.
Nah, go ahead. Do it.
If you want to see the words as soon as they come out, the best way to do that would be to follow us on Twitter at RightThingCast.
Exactly. And if you want to support us and everything else happening at Doof Media, you can do that by donating to the Doof Media Patreon. All you have to do is donate $10 or more per month to not only be able to vote in everything upcoming in Doof, but you will also get access to exclusive bonus content made by everyone in the Doof family.
That's right. There's another piece of bonus content that's going to start coming out called Doof After Dark, which is basically some of the conversations that we have before or after our recordings. I have some ones that I still need to edit. I have also a random thing unrelated to everything else. It's not bonus content that I did with Ruben that's going to show up on the YouTube. So if you want to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel and keep an eye out for that, it was pretty funny. And then lastly... Well, actually, two and a half more things. I was on last week's Doofcast talking about The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So if you want to hear us cover that movie, I think we had a really good time and had covered a lot of interesting topics in addition to the namesake. And then finally, this week, both the book club and the game club are happening. So the game club is on, I believe, Saturday night. And it is over the game called Control, which I heard was really, really good, sort of an SCP-esque game. And then the book club, which is on Friday night, is Words of Radiance, so the second book of the Stormlight archives, which I read it, and it was really good. You probably can't read it in the couple days if you haven't, but if you have, it's there. It's on Friday. Go there to be there to ask questions and stuff. Because your contributions become part of the episode, so.
Well, all right. I think it's high time to get into next week's words.
Hell yes. What are they this week? JarBJas. Ricky Gervais.
So, next week's words are cemetery, session, ratio, and owner. And also, the topic for the next month, the month of September, will be a one-scene story. Basically, we would like y'all to write a story that takes place maybe within one room or just within one scene. And I want y'all to really focus in on that one moment. Really focus in on giving us plenty of description, letting us understand why this moment is so important and has so much weight for a larger story that we will not get to see.
Yeah, so to me, the emphasis is on, like, the one setting. I think, they have, like, one-act plays, right, and others that are, like, one room. I don't know exactly what the term is, but there is that one, oh god, what's the name of it? It's a famous, play where it's the three of them, they're, like, in hell or something. What's it called? Hold on, I'm gonna Google it.
Yeah.
There is... I think the play is called No Exit, right? By Jean-Paul Sartre. Exactly. Yeah. Which has just three rooms in a room three characters in a single room and having to interact and they like all hate each other and stuff. But I think the emphasis there is one, lets you characterize the room and the setting very much in detail, and two, lets you focus on those characters and those character interactions because they can't go anywhere, right?
Exactly. Also, another play, if anyone has heard of Harold Pinter, is The Dumbwaiter, which is the exact same thing, except I think this is a expressionist play.
Okay. I don't know anything about that. I will Google it later. Great. But let's get back into the words. So the first word you said was cemetery.
Cemetery.
Which is where people are buried.
It's where pets go
to. Pets? I think, isn't pets cemetery with an S for some reason?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, well, it's where people are buried. You can have zombies there, coming out of there. Some people of different religions can't be buried in a particular cemetery because they did something against that religion. And yep, it's where dead people go. Yep.
And then session.
That's right. So session is a single like block of time dedicated to one like activity. I think that is mostly what we refer it to. So you can have a session booked at your recording studio, or You could have a makeout session, which is shortened to sesh.
A podcast session, which is similar to a makeout session. Exactly.
That takes place in a recording studio. So nice little signature there. Thank you, Jarvis. That's basically what it is. Next one is ratio, which is a kind of fraction, which is how much of one thing happens whenever there's a number of another thing.
Yeah.
Right?
People would talk about a ratio at a party, and that's how many women there are to men.
Sure. On Twitter, someone can get ratioed, which is where someone has a tweet and then the comment under the tweet, that's usually like a diss of some sort, or just like something inane, just to show a point of comparison. It has way more likes than the original post ever did.
Damn.
That's how you get ratioed. Because like your comment, which should be less, did much better than you, especially if it was something stupid, like just like a K-pop fan cam, or just like a cute dog got ratioed. You got ratioed by it. Because your tweet was problematic.
And then owner.
Owner, which is the person that owns some sort of property, which can be anything from a house to pets to in the past people.
Yeah,
so
I miss it.
Thanks, Jarvis, for that. Okay.
So please tell me what fabulous
what's the story?
What fabulous 20-word story are you gonna write next week?
Right. 20 words.
Only 20.
Do these count?
No. As soon as you say your first word within the story, that's when it starts.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna start counting on my fingers. All right. The owner of the cemetery had a strict limit on the ratio of... I only have 2 words left. Well, okay, I'm going to do 21.
Oh,
all right?
No.
I don't know what yet, but something to something, okay?
All you need is session.
Of the ratio of dead to living people in a single funeral session. I don't know how many words that was. That was between 20 and 30.
Yeah,
that was
22.
It's the point. Oh, really? It was only 22? I think it was a little bit more than that.
Maybe. I stopped counting halfway through.
Okay, well, so it's like that you have to have a 1-to-1 ratio per...
Dead to people. Living?
Yeah, so only one person can bury the dead person. Everyone else has to stay outside the cemetery.
Oh, wow. Yeah, maybe that way they'll, like, come back or something.
You're so right. What is your story? You don't have to stick to 20 words, but maybe like 30.
Cool. Thank you. So, my story for next week, let me get these words in front of me. Yeah. So, I'm going to talk about... Well, okay, so the story takes place on one cool autumn evening when the owner of the rain decided to not make it rain today. So it was cool, it was nice. There was no rain, no snow, no hail. And
you're like a 30-something at this point.
Player character, Sean Kingston, visits his grandmother at the cemetery for a rap session because his grandmother used to be a rapist.
Oh, I didn't like that.
So, as they were both spitting bars, Sean Kingston decided to hit up a party afterwards where the ratio was 1 woman for every 30 guys.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's really good. I think that was under 100 words at least.
Yeah. So that's kind of like under 30.
I think you're ahead. I really liked how you ended on possibly the worst use of the word ratio.
well, what? There's no way that Sean Kingston knows about fractions.
You're so right. Fucking Sean Kingston.
Yeah. Beautiful girl.
Sean Kingston needs to do the right thing and go to go learn math. Thank you. Have a good night.
Go.
Happy September.
Yeah. Happy